to the show, everybody. Okay, we know growing up, it's messy, it's ridiculous, it's wonderful, all the things that you can imagine. A new coming-of-age comedy starring Will and Grace veteran and national treasure Eric McCormack takes a painfully honest look at coming of age in small-town BC. The film is called Drinkwater. Take a look.
Hey, Hank, you know, how much longer are you gonna wear that?
Just till the checks stop coming.
Right. Yeah, it's just we're home now, you know? Nobody's gonna see you. The only people that come over here are Cliff and Linda. I feel like it's unnecessary.
Don't you underestimate those insurance surveillance guys. Wouldn't be surprised if one of them sneaky bastards is peeking through the window right now.
You know, Hank, I think you're taking this a little bit too far.
Mike. I've told you, if we lived in a fair and just society, I wouldn't have to carry on this charade.
Right.
As we saw in the clip, your character is a dad. He's pretty eccentric, I would say. Yeah, a little bit. You know, the show is weird and wacky, but also has an emotional core. Your character is a dad. Your real life son, however, a bit older than your son in the story.
But he was 18 when I did this film. It was 2 years ago, right at the beginning of COVID, so it was exact.
Okay. Apart from like the scamming and the fraudsterness of it, did you draw?
And the complete failure in life.
Sure.
Yeah.
Did you draw on your own experiences of fatherhood to play the part?
Well, a little bit. What I really drew on, because we shot in Penticton, BC, which is gorgeous, and our director really took advantage of it. It looks like a much more expensive movie than it is because you really show off the Okanagan. It's stunning. But my wife spent her childhood summers in the Okanagan, in Penticton. Oh, wow. So I based him a lot on her uncle, Donnie, and her brother, Kelly. I kind of did. Because as soon as I read the script, I said, I know how this guy talks. I know exactly how this guy, hey, no, I know how he talks. And her uncle, Donnie, used to laugh at things that weren't funny at all. You know, he'd just sit here and go, well, that's a big room, eh? So it was all of that. So I was just doing him, so I thought all I have to do is that and add a Burton Cummings mustache. Automatic awards.
So good. And the film wasn't just shot in Penticton, BC. It's also set there. And the place, not just the province, the place, and the country, they kind of feel like characters almost. Was that part of the appeal for you, that sort of national feel?
Yeah, I mean, I want to, you might have noticed that things are going to hell down south. So I really want to get back here. We have a place in Vancouver that I live. I love coming back to Toronto, where I'm from. And so I want to create work here. I want to be in work that is Canadian, and it's great that it's about Canada. It's unapologetically Canadian, which is very ironic.
And in keeping with that, like right out of the gate, the soundtrack, it was just appealing to my like 80s child. There was everything from like, you've got Loverboy, you've got
Troopers in there, and
Douglas
Overdrive.
It was just like everything. So there is also just like an overall 80s feel. It was reminiscent of John Hughes movies. You know, I think about Stranger Things now is so huge. Like, what do you think it is about the 80s that is still so, like, I don't know, seductive to people?
Well, I think that, you know, when we were in the 70s, I was anyway, everyone wanted to talk about the 50s. Everyone wanted to watch Happy Days all the time. I think there's always a kind of romance about the music, particularly, or the look. My kid is 20, and he loves all that stuff. I tried to sell it to him when he was 6. He was like, that's your stuff. And now suddenly he's like, have you ever heard this Billy Joel song? I'm like, yes, I probably have.
Yeah, it's so funny, right? Listen, you're obviously amazing in this, but you have 2 amazing young co-stars in this, Daniel and Larissa, and they are fantastic. They capture all of that awkwardness and the wonderful part, all the messiness of growing up and coming of age. And I do want to shout out to Larissa as well, because she, like me, is a Filipina Canadian, and you know, she is so captivating as well. You know, but generally speaking in Canadian productions, are we doing better at inclusion and diversity on sets?
God, I'd like to think so. I mean, I'd really like to think so. I mean, first of all, I wanted to address the fact that they're really the stars of the movie. And they're the young people, and I've suddenly, it was the same with my series I did for Netflix a couple of years ago, Travelers, which I was the lead guy on, except everyone around me was in their 20s, and I realized, oh, I'm the old guy. I'm Christopher Plummer here. But these, I was gonna say these kids, these young people are fantastic. Daniel is a star in the making, and Larissa is too, because while Daniel and I were doing a bunch of goofy stuff and improvising a lot and playing, we are the Drinkwaters, we're Hank and Mike Drinkwater. She was doing this very subtle, just watching it, and she kind of devours the movie by not doing anything. She's so good. And I'd like to think that we are. I mean, this country was diverse in ways that a lot of the States weren't at one point. You know, at least growing up in Toronto, I was aware of diversity. And yet, it was not on television. It was, so finally, I'd like to think that we're doing better.
There was some, there was some very sad news this week. Your co-star, beloved actor and comedian Leslie Jordan was tragically killed in a car accident. And we are very sorry for your loss, number one. Would you mind sharing with us what he was like as a person? So many of us knew him by and through the joy he brought, but we didn't get to meet him.
I mean, what you saw in Beverly Leslie, the character, is Leslie Jordan. I mean, he didn't have to do much to, I mean, he'll forgive me, but he was pint-sized. He was the smallest man you've ever met, but he was the biggest man in the room because he was so full of life, and everything is just, oh, hello, handsome. I have missed you. Do we have scenes together this week? Always flirting and funny, and he could you could see the writers perk up when they would write those Karen Beverly Leslie scenes, because it's just the greatest insults of all time.
So good.
His famous one, I think it was the first time we ever meet the character. He walks in and says, "Why, Karen Walker, I thought I smelled gin and regret."
Eric, you are wonderful. We are so glad. Come back and visit us anytime you want.
I absolutely will.
To hear this. Drinkwater premieres today in theaters in Toronto, Vancouver, and other select Canadian cities. And Eric is actually going to be at Scotiabank Theatre in Toronto tonight for a Q&A. So tickets are online or at the theatre. Go say hi.
Show.
Come on.
Hey there! Wasn't that great? Do you know where you can find some equally good content? Our YouTube page. It's filled with discussions, debates, and some laughs. Head there now, like and subscribe.